Paddy, a typically lively discussion here in the first session with some very pointed comments around career and capacity.
Yes, I think that what's happened in Korean shipyards over the last year and a half is unprecedented. To have effectively no orders, it means that the Korean government is having to rationalise overcapacity within the shipyards. But then when they finish the over-rationalisation, they still have to work out whether or not they're going to continue to finance to get what's left building again. And it's difficult to know where the demand's coming from.
In the opening exchange, you actually contradicted the moderator with his outlook on the last quarter of 2016 and prospects for 2017.
Yeah, I think that it's very easy to look at indexes and say Q4 was a good quarter. But the reality is we fix off laycans. So they tend to accidentally bring forward earnings by imagining that you got the earnings the day that you contracted to lift the cargo. You don't get them for another, it'd be 3 weeks plus to loading, and then of course you have anything between an 8 and a 12-week voyage. So most of the earnings are recognised and come a good month and a half after they're reported in the press. So and it started late. Q4 started late in Q4, so we really got the market improvement only really in November. So you can imagine we barely got a significant impact on earnings in the quarter, but Q1 will look a lot better. And hopefully we can get enough fixed to make Q1 pretty solid.
I believe 4 VLCCs delivered so far this year, a further 6 this month, and something like 60 Suezmaxes scheduled for delivery in 2017 over the year. How's that going to impact the market?
Well, I think naturally more supply would tend to weaken the market. I think that there is nevertheless some positive news. I'm not sure that OPEC production cuts will translate into cutting cargoes because it hasn't done so far. I think that we also will see a tendency for increased ton miles, and there we would be looking for an increased trend for the US to export oil to China, which is a fantastic voyage.
You referred to scrubbers as an intermediate technology, and you also said there's a risk that where people tend to talk about the risk being on the ship owner side, it's actually on the refinery side.
Yes, I think first of all, if you're going to go through a refining process or a cleaning process, logically the last place you would do it is on a ship. Any equipment that's put on board a ship has to be extraordinarily robust because, of course, the weather conditions that we go through, the constant presence of corrosive salt water. So I think that systems put on ships generally have the problem that they have a tendency to fail, and they need to be very robust. So are scrubbers up to the test? We're not quite sure. And with it, of course, will have to come a regulatory testing regime to make sure that people are using them and not just burning the dirty oil and blasting it overboard while nobody's looking. So you'll have the whole regulatory aspect that we've seen in the US in the past coming on board everywhere. And then the question for the refiners is, look, this is where you used to export your waste product of residual fuel oil. What are you going to do with it now? Now, either they're going to move it into diesel, which if they do, with diesel already in surplus, as we saw backed up a number of times in 2016, then you're going to have a completely oversupplied diesel market. So diesel prices will come down. So a solution for them, and some of the refiners have already started, is to go to a low sulfur heavy fuel oil. So there are 3 solutions, scrubbers or these 2 other solutions, both of which won't necessarily be expensive because they're costly, because once you start to produce in large quantity, it's a commodity and it will price on the market. So we'll see which way it goes. But I'm afraid, like most of this regulatory stuff, it's not been well thought through from the outset, and so people are naturally being reticent to commit because they want to see how the technology in the market breaks out around it.
And finally, turning to Euronav, it'll be another year of low leverage and being cashed up.
Well, yeah, and looking for opportunities. I mean, that's obviously, as we've always said, the one point at which a ship owner actually gets to make choices about what it buys and when it buys. And I think that this could be in 2017 a year of great opportunity. And if it isn't, then 2018 will be. And to be long cash and close to cargo will be the right way to approach the market.